Hi, I'm IKEA, and for today's video, I want to have a little bit of a ramble on the newer account. I would no longer call it the new account anymore, as it's getting close to 2 months old now. We'll be discussing SHD 1 to 500, even though I'm a little bit beyond that, actually, at this point at around 700 something, in the low 700s though still. And go over what I learned, the choices I made, the kind of builds I went for. We'll even go towards the end and go through the builds that I chose to put on this character, as they also give a little bit of insight into choices I made, mostly some for some of the global events that were active, some just because they're good farming builds. And we'll also go over some of the quirks we ran into, as there were a few things that I actually even learned while doing this new account. And eventually as well, this will all lead into me writing a new in-depth guide for new players, basically fresh level 40s. And for me to do that, I felt it would be a good thing to revisit that for myself, because there are actually a lot of things that I had forgotten, and I've had forgotten that some things were harder than I remembered. Some things are a lot easier than I remembered. For instance, getting exotics, as they've changed that quite a bit and have made it basically trivial, which is, I feel, a good thing, actually. So it's not a complaint. And yeah, let's hop in, and we'll just basically go into it in somewhat chronological order, but we'll jump around here and there. And before we started off, I wanted to introduce it with as well that this is, of course, the continuation a little bit of the 2 12-hour streams and the video that coincided with that afterwards, of me getting a newer account together. Here we see I'm at 721, a decent amount. I do have a lot of playtime, of course, so I do get to grind. But yeah, this is the continuation of that. So if you are interested, it will be linked down below, and you can watch part 1. It is not per se required, as that was very much about how far could we get in 24 hours with a new account without any boosting and stuff. Here we're going into the SHD levels and actually leveling and gearing an account. If we jump into a browser here, I, of course, also have my VOD channel. I'll link it down below as well. And I try to play this character mostly on stream. So almost all of the progress that it has made has been on stream. And that made it pretty interesting for, just going through all of the choices, and as well, some people sometimes giving input and trying to help along, and sometimes even in useful ways. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this account is I never had to deal with expertise on proficiency and the recalibration library altogether. So I kind of wanted to see how that was, because you can't actually experience that on a new character or anything, because that's not how that works. It's account-wide. So I wanted to experience that, and kind of as well how it is for new characters nowadays, because a lot has changed since the last time I had a new character. And yeah, sometimes a fresh start is kind of fun as well, as you get to go and gear up and stuff. And yeah, for the start of it, I went and avoided actually grouping up for a little bit, and went and got the resources I needed and stuff for some parts. And for instance, here as well, you see I have a Bloody Knuckles there and a Pyromaniac. Those came from my first SHD requisition, as that is what I went and got there. The Grudge came from beating Keener. The rest of it is basically things I got while leveling. I got lucky with one Cheska chest with Obliterate, as you see there. I think it was weapon handling crits damage, which I put Obliterate alongside of, and that's good enough to run with for a while. And yeah, the rest of it is just a mishmash. And the first place I went for leveling purposes was Summit. I just wanted to put together a build. I chose Striker. I could have gone with a few things, like as well. Eclipse, of course, often comes up. But I wanted to go for something that I would recommend to others. For myself, I would actually take Eclipse. But Eclipse is also very reliant on knowledge. You kind of need to know where things spawn and stuff, and kind of as well how to, get it going. It is much more recommended for second accounts and stuff, but I kind of wanted to do a red build, something that I would like recommend others getting as well, and kind of see how hard it would be to get one together. And as we're going through here, I already see I have a striker icon there on the bar. So that means that at that point, I have a striker build. I saw it there for a second. Let's try to catch a moment where it's up. This is the first I put together with just 4 pieces. Whatever I found, I just put in. I found 2 pieces of Cheska. That those were the best pieces, so I just kept those in as well. And yeah, this build basically at this point was already good enough for me to slowly creep up in difficulties. As yeah, I started off on just farming on normal, just getting whatever I got. We're already on hard with 3 directives, and one of the things I went for as well was the capacitor, because you get that for 5 challenges from the summit. Getting all of the exotics as well was one of my goals. As yeah, we already actually went and got most of the parts for a chatterbox already, actually at the end of the 24-hour stream, towards the end of it. And we're going to go and actually get the chatterbox as well, because yeah, getting those exotics is a goal as well that I want to get through. And we'll get them all basically, but yeah, especially the starting parts were quite entertaining. I was also doing this especially solo. I wanted to do it solo. Later on, I basically, once I had one build together, that was my thing I wanted to do, just completely solo. I turned it around and basically allowed people to join me, and we just grind it together. And basically dealing with this account as quite often have done with other people, which is just to help them gear up, running together with a group of four people that don't really need gear and stats anymore, and basically sharing everything over. And that helped me get through the library pretty quickly. The library isn't complete yet, even at the point of recording at 700 something SHD. But that's not uncommon, but the things I'm mostly missing are basically some of the third stats on weapons. Everything else is basically done. All gear is done. I do have detox for all of the weapon types that I care about. I have the LMG ones as well that I would care about and stuff. So I've gotten the things I need anyway, but yeah, we'll still go for completion on them, and that shouldn't be too hard. It's just only a few third stats remaining for weapon types. As we go on here, yeah, slowly creeping up as I move in now to challenging. I've gotten enough good gear basically to get that done, and I'm floor 10 with 3 directives at SHD level 3. So that shows a little bit. Now, of course, I'm kind of as well, like I'm experienced and I know how to play the game and stuff, but it isn't too hard to quickly gear up to a point at the very least that that you can do challenging. I'm not doing challenging fast, but I'm doing challenging, and that's getting me better gear, and the better gear is gonna help me get into heroic and then go from there. Although, of course, as well, I see before, for instance, here that yeah, there are some deaths in there, and it's fine. As I moved on a little bit, let me actually because the build that would stick with me for quite a while is actually this one. Because the Bloody Knuckles came with good stats. It's a crit chance, crit damage, so it actually makes sense to use, even though it, of course, like eats up a exotic slot. But I have no other exotics, so it doesn't matter. It is still basically the best thing I could put in there, even if I'm not getting the mechanics out of it. And yeah, and I'm slowly as well working on specialization points, getting the levels in there and stuff, because yeah, it didn't boost at any point, so the 3 main specializations as well are still not filled up. And yeah, later on I go and get some keys, as that is what we're doing by going the sewer run. I believe as well, following that up with going to bank headquarters and actually getting our chatterbox. And yeah, I did go and get a chatterbox. I did go and get the Liberty later on as well, and as well started working towards the Nemesis because, of course, that did of course become a somewhat longer term project. And yeah, I just started trying my hand at getting into a few heroic missions and stuff. And this was just me trying to see. I kind of wanted to get a feel for how the build would feel on heroic, and kind of if I could get it through a mission. We did actually, and then I followed that up by, or I got pretty far and I got frustrated. I feel, and then I went like, you know what? Let's have people join me. As I briefly check, as yeah, we had Toasty join us, and then just some randoms match made in. And from that point on, I basically started treating myself as just running with others. Getting carried, of course, like you do get carried as a new player, but I was doing my part. With the striker set that I had, I could actually deal a decent-ish amount of damage, so I wasn't a complete carry, but that's also because I mean, I know the game a little bit, I'm willing to say. Of course, a somewhat newer player would lack those kind of knowledge points to be able to, know where to set up and stuff. I have my lines kind of set up. And yeah, from that point on as well, we went farming zones. Bounties became quickly an important thing for me because I needed some credits, and of course, credits from bounties are very good. So we took that. I also started getting the point of having decent-ish luck because I did actually get during this session a Vile Mask and a Scorpio to drop, which of course very much pushed me towards having Eclipse set pretty quickly, because I do enjoy my eclipses, and that very much for missions became my go-to, of course. Electric as well. This was still in the season when Electric was on the season track, so I was getting Electric pieces from the season track. I feel I got one good part out of there as well for it, and that helped a lot with high status already. Letting me put status effect alongside of it. Because one of the things as well, as you see there from my little triangles underneath the stats, I don't have many of the stats yet, and it's quite it's quite a difference how much of a difference that makes to the choices that you make. And yeah, intermittently I'm just spending my points, and the points, the first things I basically put them into was crit chance, hazard protection, reload speed, and skill haste. All four of them just because they apply to most things, and I especially wanted to get the crit chance up. The crit chance is the most important stat on the red end of things there, so I was trying to get that one up. And yeah, we were just farming it out, and from this point on, basically we go into a lot quicker, because especially that starting part was kind of interesting, trying to get a striker together. And as you see there, I have no problem really killing for myself. I'm still the weakest character here, most likely, but it's not like I'm completely left out. One thing as well as is likely happening here, as yeah, it is indeed. I was in the I didn't have ultimate on this account, meaning that I will have to go and get the other specializations unlocked. This was our attempts at doing Basilisk. In the end, we ended up doing him with a fire, where normally you would do him with Oxy or Grenade Launcher. With 3-man scaling, actually, it turns out it's pretty hard to get him with these explosions. They weaken him a lot, but actually he gains because solo you can kind of get that done. And then here we went over to fire, and just because I was curious if the fire would just pop everything off. I already put a few shots in him, but then I basically went around and weaken the rest of him with the same amounts. Because as well, I'm pretty confident in just killing this guy in the or stripping him in a normal way. We actually wiped and reset once just because, yeah, in the end, we went about it with some explosions and some fires. And yeah, you can kind of slow boat it this way. We were actually I was just mostly curious if the fire would also evenly do it. Where Oxy is usually the strat for it, but yeah, nobody had Oxy built on them at this point, so we just did it with eclipses and stuff. And yeah, we did actually get the completion for that. Because yeah, that was also one of the things that I completely kind of had forgotten about is yeah, just the field recon that you need to do for these missions. And we did go through, and I did, of course, unlock all of the specialization, and at this point, they're also all leveled up. So let's jump a little bit further. And that is towards the end of the first day. As yeah, I did another 7.5 hours stream today, the day after. As yeah, I new account. I kind of want to play around with it, of course. But yeah, we had gotten the Scorpio. We hadn't actually gotten a Vile yet. I misremembered that. We got that a little bit later. Although this account, yeah, turned out to be quite lucky. We did get a Scorpio, so yeah, it was like, okay, let's put together an Eclipse. And yeah, I just put together whatever I could. I didn't want to spend too many resources recalibrating and stuff yet. So still, for instance, the electric piece isn't recalibrated and stuff. Mostly because, yeah, those resources were still valuable in other ways. So I was trying to conserve as many as I could. But yeah, we got some parts there, especially the Scorpio. I kind of needed for my playstyle with Eclipse. I would really dislike going through without the Eclipse. And yeah, let's move on to other days. As on the dawning of the second day, I had a full inventory. We had left the account like that kind of. And as I just started to put in all of the stats and stuff, as a lot was shared to me as well by my allies with full stats. And I went into a pickup mode of everything I picked up as junk was meant for donation. Everything that I picked up as just normal loot was without any marking was meant for the recalibration library, was a full stat basically. That way I could just donate junk and still like keep the stats I wanted to add into the library, because those took more time to add in. I could just intermittently jump over to Haven or White House and just donate my junk if my inventory was getting full. And then everything, of course, that I wanted to keep was getting favorited. And yeah, one of the things I totally forgotten how much time it eats up is inventorying these kind of things, especially at the start, especially when your library is completely empty and you're adding in just a ton of stats. As yeah, here, just at the starting of the second stream, we are basically, because yeah, I had to full some caches as well and stuff, but we're basically till this like 40-minute mark. we spent 40 minutes inventorying basically the entirety of the 7-hour stream before it, which of course is normally like you don't have, yeah, it's most players will not have that extended of a playtime, so you'll have only two hours worth of inventorying. But I had just forgotten how much time it eats up to go through and get all of these stuffs. Then we head into something that I had actually completely forgotten about, but yeah, it is common knowledge and it's still around. I went and made a second character just for the purposes of boosting them. I just did it with a DC start and then boosted them at the New York point, or at the getting to, yeah, when you get skills and then you just boost them to level 30. One of the things is with the very first boosted character that you do, which is something that for most of us is ages ago, is they get 150k, as you see there. This character has 150k, and they get a ton of resources to go alongside with that. And of course, you can account share those across the resources, not the credits. But yeah, this character then got used by me for, first off, account sharing those resources together and getting a ton of resources. As it shows here, they get 750 in every category, and then 1,000 of protective fabrics and receiver components. They even get a 150 printed filaments and 40 in a lot of the brands. So it is actually very worthwhile to make that second character and just feed back these resources into your character. Although, of course, you could also just boost your first character. They also get a bunch of caches and stuff. So, but of course, they are all level 30 gear, so they're not that useful. Although gear score 500. But what they did, of course, as well become, because they had 150k credits, is I used them quite a bit for, I used those credits by putting items into the stash and then recalibrating them, swapping over to this character and using its credits basically for that effect. Because yeah, that was actually quite worthwhile. It saved me because yeah, starting out, you really wanna recalibrate so much more than you have the ability to. One other thing as well, actually, as I saw it there, and we'll try to catch it here, is that one of the things is that quite often comes up is, does Inaya actually sell blueprints? And a lot of people actually say no. But what it turns out actually is she sells blueprints. She just sells always the same ones. As I'm trying to catch the moment that I was interacting with her. We'll go back a little bit. As you can see there, if I actually just frame it back a little bit and catch it as he interacts. Come on, do it. There's two blueprints there. One for gear, one for mod. And that is actually, Inaya sells blueprints, but she will sell specific ones each week, turns out. And if you have those blueprints already, it will just show, it won't show them, basically, of course. Meaning that is what is causing the confusion, because some people do have them, some people don't have them. It isn't in the same vein as, for instance, CPs or something, a blueprint that you don't own yet. You might own both blueprints and not see any. There might have been like literally the first two blueprints you have gotten. And blueprints as well became an important thing for this account, of course, because we wanted to get most of the blueprints in. And yeah, invaded missions and projects and stuff, things that are to accounts, general accounts that are, you know, well advanced and are completely unimportant to them. I don't really often look at the weekly project anymore unless I'm just looking for something to do. But even then, I will likely just jump into a descent or a countdown or something at that point if I don't know what to do. Those projects and stuff are actually very important to a newer account. Especially the invasion became an important thing for me to do quite often, as well for the specialization points that they gave. Because the specializations as well, I wanted to get them maxed out, and yeah, just leveling will get you there. But yeah, the specializations, going and doing the weekly invasion on that character, as well as doing some of the bounties, the daily bounties, were quite often important to getting a few more points in, as they do give a few points, and usually they're quite easy and fast. And there were also bounties giving me a little bit of credits. And we went also around with that account and actually spent some time cleaning out all of their side missions, because I had left a bunch of them, and I didn't want to keep them on the map. I wanted to actually have a clean map for this character and this account and that slot. One thing we ran into actually is that most of the side missions actually do scale enemy-wise, which was surprising to me. And one other thing that was actually very surprising to me that I actually didn't know, mostly because I haven't done the side missions at like end game in quite a while. And I'm gonna guess that, yeah, most of the times that we've done them on like normal difficulty set world just to like redo them and stuff. But the chest actually within the boundary, so whenever the side mission was active and it was heroic, the chest and stuff inside of the boundaries actually scaled. So they were actually dropping heroic loot, which of course for a somewhat newer character like this one was quite beneficial. Although, of course, the only reason I was really comfortable on heroic is that, well, I have a decent build at this point, as I went out of my way as well. And you see in my hands there, I have a chameleon. Chameleon was actually one that I had in mind to get pretty quickly. It's mostly because, yeah, bounties were going to drop it pretty consistently. I was missing crit chance from the watch anyway, so that third stat being crit chance was not in itself a waste, where it is for, you know, fully watch pointed characters and stuff. But yeah, we went through and we did a lot of the invasion and manhunt and stuff like that, getting this character to a decent point. And yeah, quite quickly I found that gear-wise, I was gearing up pretty quickly, especially with the help of you know, 4 people basically feeding into one character, and that is actually quite powerful. Although you see there still, I have the bloody knuckles still as part of my loadout, because yeah, it was still the best piece that I had. Let's move on to a little bit further. And this is at the end of the second day stream. And yeah, we have basically done another 12 hours worth of running on this character with well, the first and second day. This is like close to 5 hours streaming. Reaching SHD level 50, I can farm SHD levels a lot faster than this, of course, even at this point that this character is at. But that wasn't my intention. I went after exotics. I went after getting the Liberty and such. I feel actually at this point we already have the Liberty. Went and got the Chatterbox parts finally and stuff. And yeah, the invasion, did the manhunt, most of the manhunt of that season, because I had coincided the finishing of this character to be the last week of the season, as it remained back then. Golden Bullet was also available, helping quite a bit, of course, at points. And yeah, getting as well the field recon done for the 3 specializations to unlock them. And this is kind of the build I ended up with at this point, made out of the best pieces that I had. So a Cheska and a Fenris piece. I didn't have a Coyote at this point. It will actually take a while till we get a Coyote. But it wasn't actually too hard to get a build like this together, which I feel confident doing most, if not all, content, basically. Good enough to just run around with. And yeah, let's move on to next days. As yeah, we move a few days further. Actually, we're just skipping 2 days. Those were spent gearing up a little bit, getting a few more pieces of gear. We'll look at the builds that I actually ended up having on this account. But the next big step, as we got, at this point, I've the 3 specializations unlocked, done the field research for them, just went through and just did the busy work that's required. We're going through here and actually doing, as you see there, take down Jupiter, which is one of the old Climax Manhunt mission, or well, Manhunt Climax missions in that order, as the devs call them themselves. And yeah, going through and getting all of the skills, but I also just wanted to do all of the manhunts, or just the final manhunt missions, the climax missions. We did them all on heroic, which for some of them is, of course, a little bit hard. For instance, on this one, we have the fight against the killer jammers and stuff with Jupiter, and of course we'll go run into a heroic hunter as well, although that will become a very anticlimactic fight. Actually, that is in this Schaefer mission. As I scroll and see if I can actually find the fight moment, because one of the things is that the hunter is of course solo. We are still with 4. It doesn't spawn enough hunters for 4 people, so 4 agents all tossing their skills and murdering and putting everything towards them makes that quite an easy fight, as it should be. Although of course, while I wasn't perfectly geared, most of my allies are just running normal, pretty well geared builds and stuff. So a bunch of Scorpios and stuff, and we made easy work of that. And yeah, going through and getting all of the other skills that I was still missing, especially of course the EMP sticky is an important one to get. Achilles Pulse is useful sometimes. The healing trap not so much, and the shrapnel trap as well is not so much. But went through and got them. We did also all the other ones, even though they were not required. One thing we did run into, and I want to make sure to say in this video, is actually completing the first time completion of doing Anderson on this character. Did get me a doctor's home, so I got my first doctor's home from there. And that was actually surprising that is still the case. So your very first completion on your first character on that account will get you that. So if you don't have that yet, it's a, just set it to normal, get through it and get a doctor's home, basically. Oh, well, for a little bit of work. That mission on Heroic, though, was actually quite the slog. The same did not hold true for the one that ends in Jefferson Trade Center, whose name I'm forgetting. There we did get the blueprint for blue screen, which is still a requirement, because the blue screen is actually still technically not in the general loot pool, so you would have to get the blueprint for it before it is. So at least this gives you a way of getting the blueprint, because all it gave was the blueprint, the reconfiguration blueprint for the blue screen, and not the blue screen itself on that completion. But yeah, those are worth getting, I feel. And yeah, went through and got all of the skills and all of the manhunts done. And at this point, we're basically in checklist mode and just going through and doing things that are required and slowly gearing up more and more. And of course, in between as well, I'm just adding into my library, adding into expertise. And that's quite important. It adds up over time, as just spending some time. Every time I get full stats and stuff, especially for my allies, getting gear from 4 people basically speeds this up by 4 times, basically. So, and especially, of course, being on Heroic as fast as I am here. Even here, I'm already done with the season as well. I'm level 127. So yeah, got through it pretty quickly. Although of course I input quite a lot of time towards it. I went through and as well just cleaned up the projects in New York, and got all of those done, and spent some time just cleaning the map, so to say. Let's jump quite a bit further, and we'll discuss some other parts. And yeah, one thing before we jump too much further, as this is basically a week further. One thing I did do on the day is go and fill up the other 2 character slots, as we were getting to the point where I was getting enough resources and stuff. So I filled up the other 2 character slots, as you see me here doing the initial parts of getting a DC start, and then we'll boost them to level 30. And that was just to fill up all 4 of them, so these 2 could get exotic caches as well, as I was getting more than enough resources that I could afford that. So it became actually quite valuable to fill them up, and took like, this is 2 runs of like 8 minutes each. So it's not a time investment thing. I'm not, of course, making them watch alts or anything completely. We're just getting them to level 30 to the point where I can get them to get extra exotic components and stuff out of it. Or even if it's an exotic that I want, at that point, you can put it in the stash and expend one exotic component to make it a level 40 on the level 40 characters. But yeah, it is actually quite useful, I found, to fill up all 4 character slots. That first one, of course, is very valuable, where you get all of those extra resources and stuff. But even just filling up all of the characters to 4. And one thing I've already as well started, I haven't finished that yet, I've done it with 1 character so far, is get them to level 40 on that account as well, just so they share the watch points. So instead of every 5 levels, you get that 1 requisition. Instead, I got 2 now, and eventually I'll do all 4. I won't delete them and spend the points and delete them and like reset and stuff like that, but they'll just be around and I'll get to spend those points over and over again. Let's jump a little bit further. And yeah, we've jumped quite a bit ahead because yeah, otherwise this would get way too long. Because from that point on, it became just a character just to be ran. Most of the things got done, all of the busy work. Slowly working still on the recalibration library. Proficiency and expertise hasn't really gotten any specific attention. I'm just adding into it whenever I get stuff. I'm not deconstructing much, so that is kind of hurting my my ability to have resources and stuff quite readily. But yeah, what I did do is, of course, put on a hotshot determined build, just farming purposes. This is actually in the weeks of reanimated as well, so they are. It is quite beneficial to run it, and as well I put together on them a heartbreaker tech tank, as we'll also see in a second as we'll go into the builds. As of course I did, because it is quite a valuable build. And yeah, from that point I just kept at it and farmed here and there, cleared out the outcast side of the map quite often, getting all of the blueprints, and especially the new blueprints. That the way that they've done it is pretty good, where some of the blueprints are dropping from the previous season ones, so things like blueprints for the gear sets of seasons and stuff are dropping from the CP chest, so from there, and then you're also getting the ones that were always in the pool for CPs. They're also just you're just getting those at the completion of the CP. So you're getting up to a point until you have all of the ones. You'll get all of the ones from the chest before the other one, but for quite a while you'll be getting double blueprints, and that's kind of, I think, the reason they did it the way that they did, just to increase the amount of blueprints you would be getting. But yeah, especially getting the blueprints for some of the mods is quite important. Not having some of the mods was very, very annoying. As for the longest of time, I did not have the plus 20 round mag for 7.62 assault rifles, which, for instance, here with the Kingbreaker, I'm very much using, of course. So not having that kind of sucked. Where I did have it for 5.66, so I got to I was using those kind of weapons just because, yeah, losing 10 rounds is a big deal. And yeah, getting all of the blueprints done and stuff was very liberating. But yeah, it takes quite a while. It is actually, I feel, surprising how much time everything feels it takes, more than I kind of remembered it back then. But yeah, that kind of also goes into some of the choices, because, for instance, as well, I had a Elmo quite early on, as well, to say that. It having the mods already built in made it the very best choice for me, because I got it pretty early on at like level 100 something ish. I think I got it from one of the exotic caches that I got from the season, and that made it the very best choice alongside of the chameleon that I had, because it had the mag mods, it had the crit chance mods and stuff, where I wouldn't have had that without, as we were in a rogue fight, just murdering them with with a good team is pretty easy, especially as I feel we had a PFG there, we had me on a Heartbreaker tech tank there charged up, and yeah, that makes those kind of fights with two good damage dealers alongside makes them quite the cakewalk, really. And yeah, at this point I'm still as well just picking up all I can for getting towards library, especially that maxed out, having all of the stats, and then as well moving on to dumping the rest into proficiency. And that worked out for quite well, as we'll go and actually let's go have a look at how the library currently stands. Well, we're not at the advertised 500 anymore. It turned out to be, especially with the help of others, although solo, of course, this will just take longer. With other players there sharing stats across to me, and they would basically dump it on the ground and go like, do you need this one, and I would just look at the triangle and see which ones I did and didn't need, and then they would just deconstruct the other ones so that they still got their resources out of it. But at this point, I've basically all of the gear done. It is all talents, all stats, all cores at max, all of the cores for all of the weapons and stuff as well. Mostly what I'm missing still is a few of the, or although even still minor, for instance, here I'm missing a tiny amount of rate of fire or reload speed. Stats I wouldn't put on a shotgun anyway. On ARs, which one I'm missing, stability as well, something I want to put on there. I do want to, of course, get this complete, as the completionist in me yearns for that. So this will get done eventually, as actually LMGs are completely done. But yeah, we're just missing a few last stats, and that's always how this ends up. But even then, if I really wanted them, like I have them at high enough place to use them. The other thing, of course, that a lot of my resources went into is actually expertise. And here at level 721, I feel I've done pretty okay by getting to expertise level 11. This is actually even without spending a lot of time directing my attention towards this. Because one thing that, of course, did is just, yeah, pick up a lot of things as junk, donate all of the junk to this, not deconstructing it, not selling it, but just donating it all. And that has made it so that most of the brands are done. Only one is missing is like Golan for some reason. And of course, the ones that YAL, for instance, that is tied to DZ, those don't drop. So, but here as well with the gear sets, I have most of the gear sets pretty high. But actually what I could do at this point is go into countdown, set myself to Cavalier or something, and just hoover up all this Cavalier and just come and donate it, or even run the builds. I could make a easy Umbra build that would be good enough to run for some content, and you will just, especially because you equip 4 pieces of gear set, it actually goes pretty quickly. Same for Future Initiative. I could run a healer for a few places, even Foundry, even I could like make work as a build. But these are still actually very easy to complete. So I'm a negotiator. I have no issue running as a build. But then, of course, system corruption would be something that, yeah, would be a little bit harder. And what I could do, for instance, with system corruption, I've gotten a piece from Legacy. And one thing that I feel a lot of people do is just mess up their builds and just make like 6 pieces system corruption. Just don't do that. What I could do here is put in 1 piece of system corruption instead of like the contractors or something, and slowly get the proficiency towards it, or just resource it as well as an option. But that way, at least I'm not completely gimping myself. I'm giving up a little bit of my damage, but not all of it. And then, yeah, usually what ends up as well is that, especially having done a few countdowns on this character, we've gotten most of the names that will drop from just being drops. But especially things that are like Ferocious Calm or Hunter Killer, that also does not drop. But yeah, for instance, Ferocious Calm is a DZ item, so I might run a Ferocious Calm chest for a few runs or something to get this done, or resource it eventually. But the other ones are very much still, if I did a ton of countdown runs, had my targeted set to, for instance, chests, getting a bunch of these named chests as well. And of course, from the hunters at the end. There's still a lot of easy ones to get. Same for weapons, because especially the weapons, a lot of these weapons will just drop normally. Some are, of course, again, DZ tied, or Ouroboros, for instance, tied to the incursion, of course. But also, you would not want to donate ever, really. Exotics, they're much too valuable as exotic components to proficiency gear up and stuff. So, but yeah, skill-wise as well, just running some skills intermittently, like, of course, my Jammer Pulse and Scanner Pulse have been maxed out quite easily for my playstyle. I'm surprised my Assault Turret actually isn't, and such. Fire Chem is, of course, going to be completely proficient with me, with the right foam actually as well, being pretty close, but, and as well, of course, Crusader Shield with me, enjoying tech tanks and stuff. Although as well, actually, lately, the Reviver and Stinger, the Artificer is almost there as well, as in the same vein. But yeah, just running just random skills is not an issue, especially when you're in, for instance, in my case, I play quite often with, viewers from stream, and then we just, it's okay if I run too jumbled, like just at EMP sticky and like a bombardier drone or something. And if I go down, they'll pick me back up. Let's have a look at the builds on this character. As in this video is very much just me rambling, as aptly with a rambling talk. Mostly because I wanted to put this all to video, as there are some interesting things in there. I hope that were interesting to some. To me, they were just revisiting old ways. One thing I've done as well with my account on this one, I'm actually just running 3 mods. I'm no longer doing the thing that I do on my main account and stuff, of like having a mod in each piece of gear. So doing it the way most people do and are more comfortable with. So yeah, that's the missing mods in some of the gear, of course, as if they were loaded, they would get there. And yeah, of course, the thing I went for first was Elmo. This is actually not the chest that I had at that time, as it was with a weapon handling roll, but this chest, of course, is still not maxed out or anything, but it's good enough. It's good enough to run, and I will not be too far behind others. I, of course, eventually got a Coyote as well. Striker as well, being a red core, or just a gear set with just a core and a stat, actually drops quite often with very high stats, so I have most of that maxed out. That's also saving on optimization. As one thing I haven't done at all, even at 721 here, is any optimization at all. Leaving some weapons on lvl-ed. I'll eventually spend it likely on the Elmo. I'll spend it on the Oreo. I might spend it on this Coyote. I might actually get this chest all the way up. Get the Val up, get the Scorpio up. A lot of the exotics, basically, that I'll spend it on. To go through the builds here, yeah, a standard Elmo striker is what I basically took to be my main build on this account. I quickly got a Elmo, and then from that point, especially having all of the mods on it, the magazine mod and the crit chance mods and stuff, made it an easy choice. I started out with a Chameleon with the same reasoning as well. And the Chameleon was easier to get than the Elmo, so I went for that first. Because yeah, I just farmed a zone with bounties. There wasn't a AR zone until a few days in, so once that was the case, we went all in on it, basically. Got a few exotic components in extra Chameleons, and then an Elmo finally. And yeah, one thing I of course do have is Oreo, which will not be available to everyone as easily. I of course have, yeah, I'm happy that I do have a few friends that are very much into the raids, and have of course as well helped me get Aura to incursions, and help me basically learn it and then also run it. And at this point, I'm pretty confident in there, I feel. And yeah, if you're also interested in getting confident in there, there is actually a stream of Toasty, especially giving basically introduction in how they run it. Although it has changed a little bit, it'll get most people through it with that knowledge. So that stream is well worth watching on the VOD channel. It is named as well as such. And of course, I have slots on this account, so I've actually saved the Oreo in the several ways that I would want it, which is one with the chest, the second with obliterate variant, and the third one with the contractors and Cheska piece. This is for when others are running Coyote, which is one of the common ways we run it for incursion. And then, of course, I have Eclipse Protocol, as yeah, Eclipse is very much a build that I will not live without, so I'm choosing not to. This, of course, still could use a little bit of optimization. What I do have, though, is all of the stats full, so I can, in the library, so all of the status effects are at least full. And yeah, it's a standard setup, although nowadays I'm much more towards a lefty, so I'm using that here as well. I made a high-end red as well, mostly as well just to have something. I had most of the pieces for it already, and I thought, you know what, why not? Let's just put one together. I was considering also taking this maybe into raids, this character, because I could hide behind my SHD level and let people just completely teach me. But I haven't yet. I might still, but we'll see. And then actually I have 3 Headhunter builds. While I'm not the biggest fan of Headhunter builds, Reanimated was active for quite a while. So I did make, the Hotshot Determined as a normal version. Mostly as well because I had good parts for it. And it is easy build to farm together, although even my parts are not really that great. I could go out and get better ones. I have the Hunter's Fury variant, although of course not with the Regulus, because I haven't done the raids on this account, on this character. And then as well, we have a high-end version, because as well, I got the parts together, so I was like, let's just toss one together. All 3, of course, play a little bit differently, and all 3 are worth having, I feel. Then I went with the Hunter's Fury as well, just for a run and gun kind of a thing. This is actually one of the earlier builds that I put together, mostly because as well, I got this Grupo chest and I had this Sokolov backpack. And I went like, oh, okay, these 2 pieces, even though this is with Unstoppable Force, although I actually don't mind Unstoppable Force here at all for solo play. Making this a decently fast way of as a solo piece. Now, of course, I would put the Oreo in here just to amp up its damage quite a bit. And I did make a Heartbreaker Tech Tank. And yeah, this one took a little bit because yeah, you need to find at least one piece as well to recore and stuff. Didn't get the greatest one. And as well, I was missing for the longest of time. I was missing the mods for the Kingbreaker in one of the I think it was the muzzle mods. With crit chance, and I was missing the +20 round mag. I think the +20 round mag was actually the muzzle was like the second to last mod blueprint that I got, but I did eventually get it, so that made this one viable. One thing as well that I quickly got and helped me out a lot was that I got a M4 that made this account seem very lucky, which it still kind of is. As I got an M4 that was, as you see here, with its flatline still here. It's completely unrecalibrated, so this is very much a god roll piece as far as those go. And yeah, this one helped me out a lot, as I ran it with fast hands as well for some other builds, and put it back to flatline. One thing is that if it drops with a talent and you put it back to that talent, actually the recalibration goes away again, because you can basically unrecalibrate a piece that way. But yeah, at this point, this character and account is, for all intents and purposes, pretty geared up. A few parts that I am still missing is, as I also as well have most, if not all, exotics. I feel at this point, I think I'm still missing ninja bike knee pads. That's I think the only exotic I'm still missing, but also I'm not missing it. It isn't in there, but I'm not missing it. Same, of course, I still need to go get a bighorn and an eagle bear and a ravenous and stuff like that, but we'll go get those eventually. At this point as well, have done the Nemesis completely. As last week, the Grand Washington Hotel was invaded. It took me 5 weeks in the end, 5 or 6 weeks. I think it was 5 weeks till getting the Nemesis from the first week on. So yeah, around average. And yeah, at this point as well, I'm most of the exotics. One thing I'm still kind of missing constantly is a TDI card custom. So I am still getting named caches from the global events and such. Mostly because, yeah, I still don't have really a need for exotic components. I do have enough saved up for an Oreo or an Elmo to be taken up to, most likely Oreo, to 20. But I don't have expertise 20. It's going to take a while till I get there. I'm still only on 11. Yeah, named item caches will get me some of the DZ names. So for instance, as well, if I got a Death Grips, for instance, I could just put that in here and just run it and get them all proficiency that way. Because yeah, DZ items and exotics are usually the bottleneck at the end. So working towards those as early as possible helps out a lot. Especially, for instance, as well in like a Oreo or in a striker build, especially if I'm like running a Blitzrate version. Just running, instead of whatever here, putting in a DZ item, for instance, a Dark Winter or something that I'm not going to get multiples of, or actually that's the reason this Black Friday is still in here. I'll just equip these and just run them and proficiency them up, because I already know that they will become the bottleneck towards the end. And getting more of the DZ items so I can do that with them will be handy. That's also actually one of the reasons I made this high end, because the striker one, yeah, I can't put too many items in here or like break it in too many ways because it's not as robust in like swapping pieces out. A high end is much more so, because in a high end, just getting a holster out or a backpack out or something, putting a Devil's Due in here or something, for instance, or putting the claws out holster or something in here. Doesn't hurt this build. It hurts this build less than it does a striker, but a striker would still outdamage this, even in a hurt way. So it's maybe a moot point. But yeah, that's caught up a little bit to at least where this account kind of is now. I will still keep the title to being level 500, but yeah, we're already actually quite a bit further away from that, but we'll revisit this account as a video as well. Likely when we reach 1,000, which we're good on the way towards it. And likely at 1,000, I will start to kind of sunset this account, because running 3 accounts takes quite a bit of time. And while I'm enjoying it now, I know it will become too much of a hassle. So likely once this account reaches 1,000, I will actually sunset it, and I will actually basically not touch it until we find something else for it to do. But yeah, let's move into our conclusion. And yes, to conclude this video, it is it was quite enjoyable to have a new account fresh again, having to grind, for things that I hold to be quite trivial for my main account. Is just go, instead of farming for it, I just go, I have one of those in my stash. Oh, I have one of those on this character. I'll just swap to that character. Instead, I had to go and farm and stuff, and as well was getting a lot of help from a lot of my allies with getting the library and stuff up. Because yeah, I've done that a lot for other players, and it is quite beneficial to them. Although as well, I would caution about doing that unless the player wants it. Because yeah, one thing that I was kind of concerned was like, maybe I should have just ran it for longer solo and see how long those kind of things take. But as well, yeah, you can get geared up pretty well by allies, especially if you join a clan or something. That's kind of the experience that I had there, is just running with clanmates and then basically sharing most of the full stats towards me and stuff. And yeah, I was actually very surprised how competent this account became on its own quite quickly. Especially as well, helped out a little bit by my choices, of course, of having it be reaching level 40 with Golden Bullet. Although I didn't use Golden Bullet to farm that first build. That was also a stipulation. So yeah, actually farming that first Striker build, I did it without any like global events or anything. So. And yeah, it was pretty easy getting a Striker set together, and Striker's bonus is just so worthwhile on its own that, yeah, even having bad stats to go with it and stuff and not having the minors correct, just having that 4-piece there is enough to run challenging, I found. Together with a decent enough weapon, which you can get a decent one pretty quickly. And yeah, it was also very surprising how easy it is nowadays to get exotics, as yeah, they get tossed at you basically from countdowns and stuff and global events and stuff. And that's a good thing, because yeah, most of the exotics some are kind of required for some builds in the form of Coyote or Scorpio or Vile. They make builds possible, a Memento. And it's good that they drop a lot, because there's also a lot of them, so it can sometimes take a while to get the right ones. And I feel they've done a good job with that. And yeah, we'll indeed revisit this account as a video once it reaches 1K. And yeah, for my next video, I'm actually going to follow this up with another rambling talk, this time on diminishing returns, as that has, as expected, riled up some conversation following my second part of the damage calculation video. I have some things to say about it, and we'll be going over one comment, although of course, no ill will towards that person, but that person actually worded it really well. the opposition, the view from the opposition, I would say. And we'll discuss all those things, and we'll go into why I do use the term diminishing returns, and we'll continue to do so. And yeah, that one will follow this one up pretty quickly, as yeah, I've been ill for a little bit, a bit of a cough and a bit of a cold. So I'm feeling much better. I never felt like horrible, but yeah, my voice wasn't up to it, and neither was my mind to do a video, as even though this is very rambly, my attempts while ill were even more so. So imagine how bad those would get. But yeah, that one will follow up this one pretty quickly, because yeah, I do want to get a few videos up, and that both of them will then get followed up by the weird tech tank build showcase, which I'm looking forward to, as have ran a few buff build tech tanks for quite a bit, and also Umbra tech tank. So we'll discuss those in a showcase altogether. So yeah, I hope you join me for those, or over on Twitch, where I'm regularly streaming. And the only thing left is for me to say, have a good night.